What's up, everyone? Welcome to E3 2016, IGN's live show. I'm Vincent Janito. I'm here with Brent Disbro. You are the lead campaign designer on Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War 3.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I was a huge fan of Dawn of War 2, a pretty big fan of Dawn of War 1 as well, so I'm really excited about the third one.
Well, we're really excited that you're excited. We've been working on it a long time, and we're excited to show gameplay here at E3.
Cool, yeah, there's a lot of footage we have to get to. So first off, we see right here, this is a big deal. We're seeing some base building. This is something that wasn't in Dawn of War 2 because it was more Company of Heroes style. So talk to us about base building, what's interesting about it, and why did you decide to bring it back from Dawn of War 1?
Well, one of the things we wanted to bring back from Dawn of War 1 was the scale of battle. And so when we were looking at it, the best way of doing that, delivering on the scale of battle, was by letting players choose which units they have on the field. And the way to do that was with base building. What you just saw there was the way the Space Marines build their bases. Rocket drills into the ground.
Awesome. Looks really like very industrial, very Space Marine-esque, very like, the 41st millennium, dark stuff war. So here we've got, now here we have Terminators. Now, here's what's interesting about, Dreadnoughts. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, hey.
Not the same thing at all. So we got these Dreadnoughts here. What's interesting is we know there's much bigger fish in the sea this time around. So with Imperial Knights stomping around, what role do the Dreadnoughts play now?
Well, the Dreadnoughts are now a line unit. So they occupy the they're built through your base building. And what we do with them is they're kind of like infantry control units.
Right.
They do a lot of heavy melee damage. They have flamethrowers and great punches, and they have a hammer slam. You might see that in this clip.
Yeah, I noticed when I was looking at the B-roll that they do a lot of crowd control. We're going to see some of that here.
Absolutely.
They're kind of like traditional, like not tanks in the sense of a tank on the battlefield, like rolling around. I mean, like in the RPG sense of things, they seem like they're there to distract and enemy forces. There you go. There's a great example of that.
That was a hammer slam.
The hammer slam. They're there to kind of control space, distract and absorb damage while the infantry behind them deals damage.
Absolutely. They're the guys keeping the enemy away from your shooters, from your ranged units, right? Because the ranged units are very vulnerable to melee attacks.
Yeah, I think earlier we saw them kind of make mincemeat out of a group of Howling Banshees.
Absolutely.
Which obviously if they get into the infantry lines, those Howling Banshees are gonna rip up those Space Marines.
It would be bad for the ranged units.
Yeah. So here we have, even though we've gone back to Dawn of War style, like large battles, we now have also Dawn of War 2 style heroes, which kind of reminds me of Warcraft 3, where it was like large scale battles, but still with these individual heroes that can really turn the tide. So this is Angelus.
This is Gabriel Angelo, chapter master of the Blood Ravens, returning character. What you just saw there was one of his special abilities. It's a retribution. It's a big energy dome that does a tremendous amount of damage and knockback and reflects bullets. So it protects anybody who's nearby if they're an ally. He's also got an ability called the God Splitter. He's got that big demon-smashing hammer beside him.
We're going to see it in action in a second, I think.
He can use the God Splitter to leap across chasms and make puddles out of the... it's great.
That's so sick, and in a second I think we're going to see him jump up to another level. So he can even use it to like utilize some of the verticality of the levels. So I guess you have to kind of design play spaces in the campaign that can utilize abilities like that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, what we wanted to do with the mission spaces was give players options in terms of where they go. It's not all a fixed path. Our mission environments are a lot more open, and what we want to have players do is have abilities where, like, hey, if I want to use Gabriel to go up the side path, I can, or if I want to use Assault Marines in their jet packs, I can do that as well, and maybe do side routes on the enemy.
Right. Maybe attack from two fronts at once.
Absolutely.
So here's an example of him kind of playing the same role as those Dreadnoughts were playing in that last clip, where he's there to control infantry, enemy infantry, protect allied infantry, and kind of make sure that they don't get torn up.
Yeah.
This is a crazy battle.
Yeah, we just saw some Assault Marines jumping in.
Yeah, we have drop pods coming down.
We have some Devastators with las cannons. Those are those solid beams.
Yep.
Exciting thing about them, the more they concentrate on a target, the stronger their beam gets and the amount of damage they do. We had some drop pods in the background drop down. Yeah,
let's talk about the drop pods a little bit, because that's kind of always been an interesting dynamic in the tabletop game. But I feel like in all the games, even the great games, like I thought Dawn of War 2 was excellent, it's never really handled in as dynamic or interesting a way as I think it is in the tabletop. So how are you guys handling it here in Dawn of War 3?
Well, what we're doing, so the drop pods for Dawn of War 3 are what we call a faction mechanic for the Space Marines. And players will be able to choose what units are in those drop pods, when and where to drop them. So it's going to be really exciting as a sort of a turnaround mechanic for players. When they land, they do a big amount of knockback, and then your troops spill out and just cause carnage. It's really great.
And you can have different kinds of units in them. You can have the Devastators with the last cannons. I think
Absolutely.
I saw Dreadknots being delivered to the
Tactical
battlefield that way.
Marines, Assault Marines, Scouts. If you want to, make a big splash with a Scout unit, you could do that.
Sure, why not? They don't get a chance to knock people around too often, so let them have some fun, right? So yeah, here we're gonna see the last cannons. They're messing up. Are those Falcons or Fire Prisms?
Those are Fire Prisms.
Those are They look different. That's the new Fire Prism, right?
That's the new Fire Prism.
Yeah.
And they die real good too.
Oh yeah, they look beautiful when they blow up.
But you can see how much when their beams get concentrated, you can see how much damage they're doing.
They're just melting that armor.
Yeah.
By comparison, I feel like in some of the footage I've seen, when they're focused here on infantry, they don't do as much damage. Was that a conscious choice?
Absolutely. We wanted the Devastator las cannons to be very effective against buildings, against vehicles, and much less so against infantry. That's where the role of the Devastators with heavy bolters comes in.
Sure, and here we're going to see a really good example of what you were talking about before, which is that as they hold their fire on something, on one target, they get more and more powerful. So here they're fighting against, are those Wraith Guards?
Those are Wraith Guards, yeah.
Those are Wraith Guards.
And they have a shield in front of them. And
I was going to say, those guys are soaking up a lot of damage.
They're soaking up a lot of damage. But, that's the thing about the Eldar is they have the, psychic ability, psychic fueled shields. And that's their biggest, that's the thing that keeps them alive.
Oh, and speaking of big.
You can see a tactical marine down near the feet of Lady Celeria.
Yep.
That's an Imperial Knights, the biggest unit we've ever built on the battlefield.
And for scale, I mean, we'll see it in a second, but they are roughly 3 times the height of a Dreadnought.
Oh, I think it's closer to. I think it's closer to 5.
Oh, really?
I think it's closer to 5. I think they're 7 times the height of that tactical marine. So maybe it's 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. So these guys are huge. They're almost Titan size, like around the size of the smallest class of Titans the Imperium uses in the lore. Some amazing abilities. You want to talk about crowd control?
Yeah.
These guys are,
So we're gonna see here is Lady Celeria. She's got 2 Gatling guns for arms. And what she's going to use here is what we call the Gatling Barrage. And this is where she just opens it up.
She's going to turn these Guardians into pieces.
Absolutely. She's so much fun to use.
So I don't even imagine what the cost of, I know you're not talking about multiplayer yet, but I can't imagine what an Imperial Knight's going to have to cost in, when you're playing in a skirmish to justify this kind of power. But
yeah,
whatever it is, I'll pay it.
Oh, absolutely. She's definitely, Imperial Knights are definitely a late game kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Now, but the fun thing about, this is her other big ability. This is Iron Storm Missile Barrage.
Right, and this is 6 different missiles. You can place each of these specifically, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to, you can hit little cluster, tight clusters like that. But we'll see, I think maybe in a later shot. Yeah, right here, you can spread those out as you see. See, they're all numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you choose the location and the order in which you hit your targets. That's really cool. Nice amount of control.
Like, Lady Celeria could have totally broken that heavy cover there with 4 or 5 missiles alone. Right?
Gotcha.
But she spread it out, took a variety of targets.
I'm glad you mentioned cover, because really quick I want to talk about that. There's a lot of hubbub about the changes to the cover mechanics. It's very different from Dawn of War 2, which was very Company of Heroes style. So let's talk about that. Like, why the general cover areas like you have? Why not use what people know works? Like, what's the benefit?
Well, there's 2 things. One is the scale of battle. We have a lot more units on the battlefield, and what we didn't want to.
Oh, really? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's really subtle. So we wanted to have cover that kind of reflected the numbers of troops in the battle, and hiding behind logs and sandbags didn't really scale well with the amount of units we wanted to do.
Sure.
The other thing, another thing was clarity. We wanted all the people on the battlefield, enemies and allies, to know when somebody was in cover. The cool thing about the cover is that it becomes, in a way, a temporary emplacement. It's got its own health, so it's not going to last forever. So if you try and stay there and turtle, you're not going to survive for very long.
Right. And there's also counterplay.
And there's one of the big things of counterplay is that it keeps range units out, but melee units can come in, and they can mess up the guys you thought were safe in the heavy cover.
Yeah, the assault Marines can come in on their jetpacks.
Yep. Assault Terminators is another elite.
Yep.
And they can teleport in.
Sick. This is a crazy battle. This looks like the benchmark battle that you run at the beginning of Relic games to see how your this is going to run it.
So what you're seeing here is the Orbital Bombardment. It's the sort of finger of God death space laser that the Space Marines have.
Awesome to see.
All of our factions have a super ability like that. and what you just got to see is a brief glimpse of it in action.
Beautiful.
Cool thing about it, player can steer that beam.
Oh, nice, nice. I love having that control of the Carnage.
The more enemies they hit, the bigger it gets.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's great.
So use it at the right time, that's really going to turn a battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. It's so exciting to see another Dawn of War, one of my favorite franchises of all time.
Nice.
Brent, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much
talk
for
about
having
it.
me.
And thank you folks for watching again. This is IGN's E3 2016 live show. For more on Dawn of War 3 and everything here on the show floor at E3, keep it right here on IGN.